Okay, then we are done with lenses, and now we move on to plane surfaces once again. And the plane surface that we are going to do is a prism. That is the next topic, lecture number 13, refraction by prism. And I hope that you have some idea about what is a prism. Yes or no? No, yes, tell me.
Yes, sir.
Great, sir. So, can you tell me what is a prism? What is the difference between a glass slab and a prism? Glass slab, prism. Glass slab, prism. Can anyone tell me that? I would be very glad if you can tell me. Yes, bacha. A glass slab and a prism. What is the definition of a prism? Anyone? Okay, so we'll start with the definition of prism. You might not be aware of it, and I'll try to explain what is a prism and how does it work. So what is a prism? A prism is a homogeneous transparent medium which is made up of glass, let us say, enclosed by two plane surfaces which are inclined to each other at an angle. So basically this prism must be made up of a transparent homogeneous medium. Homogeneous means same, should not be made up of different materials, otherwise it becomes a complicated thing. It should have at least two surfaces where refraction happens. Do we understand this?
Yes, sir.
It should have at least how many? Two surfaces. And these two surfaces must be plane. It cannot be like one is curved and the other one is plane, because if it becomes curved, it is not a prism, then it becomes a lens. Do we understand this?
Yes, sir.
So what are the 2 points about prism that you must remember? It must have at least two plane surfaces. Yes or no? Yes or no? No or yes? Do we understand this? Can I have raise
Yes,
hand?
sir.
And they must be inclined at an angle. So these are the two things that you must remember about a prism, that it must consist of two plane surfaces and they must be inclined at an angle. Now, look at the diagram that we are talking about, and I will focus the diagram and cut the other things apart. This diagram is given on your page number 34. Can you see this diagram? It comes on bigger screen now. And now there are some cases given, and let us understand whether these are prisms or not. Number one, is it a prism? Yes or no? I'm waiting for your answers. Number one, is it a prism? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it has two surfaces. This is surface number one. This is surface number two. And they are at an angle. Here the angle may be 90 degrees. Do we understand this? Can I have some reason that we understand this? Number one is a prism. What about number two? Is it a prism? Number two, is it a prism? Yes or no? No or yes? There are only two answers.
Yes, sir. Prism.
Yes, it's a prism. It has one surface which is plane. It has second surface which is plane. They are inclined at an angle. Let me call that angle as theta. Remember, the third surface is curved, but this third surface is having no role here. Refraction is taking place at surface number one and surface number two. We're only concerned with surface number one and surface number two, and therefore Number 2 is also a prism. Can I have raised hand that we understand this? Let us move on to number 3. Now, is number 3 a prism? You will say, sir, it's a transparent glass slab. But look at from where the ray is falling and from where the ray is going out. Is number 3 a prism? Yes or no? No or yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you can see this is surface number 1, this is surface number 2, and these surfaces are at angle of 90 degrees. So this gentleman also now behaves like a prism. Let us move on to number 4 diagram. Number 4 diagram, is it a prism?
Yes, sir. Two surfaces.
Surface number 1, surface number 2, they are definitely at an angle to each other. This arrangement behaves like a prism. Let us move on to number 5. Is it a prism?
Not a prism.
It is not a prism. Why? You can see surface number 1, surface number 2. There are two surfaces. The two surfaces are plane, but they are parallel to each other. They are parallel to each other. If the surfaces are parallel to each other, the arrangement is not a prism, it becomes a glass slab. So this is behaving as a glass slab. If you have understood this, please raise your hands. Why it is behaving as a glass slab? Because the two surfaces where refraction is taking place, they are parallel to each other, and therefore this combination does not behave like a prism, it behaves like a glass slab. Can I have raised hands from everyone that we understand this? I'll give you time. You may not draw this on your books, on your notebooks. You just write it on your sheet, which one is a prism and which one is not. Case number 5 is not a prism because the two surfaces are parallel to each other. I'll give you minute time to note it down. Okay, then we move on to the definition once again. A prism is a homogeneous transparent medium which is enclosed by two plane surfaces. Those two plane surfaces must be at an angle. Now these surfaces which are at an angle and refraction takes place are known as refracting surfaces, and the angle between them is known as the refracting angle or the angle of prism. So these two surfaces, if you look closely here, closely where? Closely to these two surfaces of the prism where refraction is taking place, surface number 1 and surface number 2 where refraction is taking place. These are known as refracting surfaces. Now these refracting surfaces are at an angle. This angle is theta. This angle is known as the angle of prism. Do we understand this? Yes or no? If you cut
Yeah.
any plane which is perpendicular to your refracting surfaces, that plane is known as the principal section of the prism. That tells us how refraction is taking place. All the diagrams that we had drawn, we had cut a section perpendicular to the refracting surfaces, and that is known as the principal section. I will give you a minute to note all these definitions down. What we see here are some sample diagrams and how we can create a principal section. You can see this is the entire prism, and if you cut a section, this is how the section will look like. This is known as the principal section. All these sections that we have drawn are the principal section of the prism. Do we understand this?
Yes, sir.
This type of prism is right angled and isosceles. Two sides are equal. two angles are equal. This is right angle, but this is not isosceles. This side is not equal to this side. Do we understand this? A very simple illustration of how a prism might look like. Please mark it in your sheet. This is the next diagram, and this is the only diagram that we are supposed to draw in this entire topic. With this simple diagram, we should be able to understand everything about prism and what happens in a prism. I will give you time to do that. I will just mark out important things here. Do you see this I1? This is important. Do you see this? I1. You see this R1. You see this R2. You see this I2. You see this delta 1. You see this delta 2. And you see this delta. Do you see all these things in the diagram? Yes or no?
Yes,
No.
sir.
You'll have to draw this diagram carefully. I'll give you time to draw
Okay,
this
sir.
diagram. Then we will move on and see what all stands for what. And let me use a different color here. Let me use red. PQ. Do you see this ray PQ?
Yes, sir. Incident ray.
Well done. PQ is the incident ray. Do you see the ray QR?
Refracted ray.
This one, it is the refracted ray. Do you see the ray RS? This is known as the
Emergent
emergent
ray.
ray. You
Emergent ray.
see this angle.
Prism angle.
Yeah, this is refracting surface number 1. This is refracting surface number 2. The angle between these two surfaces is known as the prism angle. A is the prism angle. I1 is the angle of incidence. You can see this NQ. Do you see this NQ?
Yes,
This is
sir.
normal drawn on surface 1. Do you see this N dash and Q dash?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
this is normal drawn on surface 2. So I1 becomes angle of incidence. I2 becomes angle of emergence.
Emergent.
Emergence. Sometimes you also call it as E.
Mm.
R1 becomes refracted angle.
Yes.
Refracted angle number 1. R2 becomes
Mm,
incident angle on phase, second phase. Angle of deviation. Angle of deviation is the angle between the ray which is coming out and the ray which is incident. In this case, it is the angle between this ray, ray number 1, and ray number 2, which is going inside. This is angle of deviation delta 1. Do you see angle of deviation delta 1? I had marked it.
Yes, sir.
That is equal to I1 minus R1. Similarly, you have angle of deviation delta 2, that is I2
I2
minus
minus
R2.
R2.
You will have to write everything down in your notebooks. I'll give you 5 minutes, 3 minutes to do this. Can you do this for
Okay,
me?
sir. Okay, sir.
Well, what I have done is I am showing you a more enlarged view of the same diagram. Now I'm going to ask you and you are going to tell me which one is what. What is this angle A? What is this angle A? Tell me what is this?
Prism angle.
Great. What is this NQ? This is the
Incident
no,
angle of incident angle on face AB.
no, this is AB is your refracting phase number 1 and AC is your refracting phase number 2. This is the normal drawn on this phase N1. Do we understand this? I have to draw a normal on this face. This one is the normal drawn on the face 2 and 2. Do we understand this? Can I have raised hand that we understand this?
Yes, sir.
N1 and N2 are the two normals which are drawn. Let us move ahead. What is this? PQ. What is PQ?
Incident ray.
Very good. Remember each and every word. Each and every word is important. What is this?
Refracted ray.
QR is the refracted ray. Well done. What is this?
Emergent ray.
Very good. Let me now change the color of the pen so that we... Okay. What is this?
Incident angle on face AB.
Very good. What is this? This is
Refracted angle.
very good. What is this?
Incident angle.
On face AC.
AC.
Yes. What is this?
Emergent angle on face AC.
Very good. It is also sometimes known as angle E. E
Angle.
standing for emergence. Let me again change the color of the pen and take it to the third color. What is this angle? Remember, this is the incident ray. Do we understand this?
Yes, sir.
Blue one is the incident ray and the other blue one is the refracted ray. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So this delta is the angle between angle between what? I hope you can see this. Delta is the angle between incident ray and
And refracted ray.
very good. Incident ray and refracted ray. This delta is known as angle of deviation. This delta is known as angle of deviation. For which phase? For the phase AB. Do
AB.
we understand this?
Yes,
This
sir.
delta 1 is the angle between incident ray and refracted ray. This is known as the angle of deviation for phase AB. Can I have raised hand that we understand this?
Yes, sir.
Similar to this, we will have, let me put another color and let me put black color here. We have this delta 2. Now, can you tell me what is this delta 2? Delta 2 again is the angle of deviation, but for which phase?
AC.
Yes, delta 2 is the angle of deviation for the phase 2. Can I have raised hand from everyone that we understand this?
Yes, sir.
So far, so good. Now I take everything out from here. So I'm just taking everything out so that the picture becomes clear again. The picture becomes clear again. Everything has been rubbed off right in front of your eyes. I hope you have seen this. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Again, I will start to highlight. I will start with this angle delta 1, which is the angle of deviation for phase number 1. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
This delta 2 is the angle of deviation for phase number 2. Do we understand this?
Yes, sir.
Then I have delta. Now what is this delta? If you look very closely with a different pen, this is the incident ray, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
And this one is the emergent ray, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So this delta is the angle between...
Incident ray and emergent ray.
Wow, that is beautiful. It's the angle between incident ray and the emergent ray. If you understand this, This delta is known as the angle of deviation of the prism, because this prism has two surfaces and refraction takes place at two surfaces. The ray which is coming in is known as the incident ray. The ray which is going out is known as the emergent ray. Angle between these two rays is known as the angle of deviation for the prism. Do we understand this?
Yes, sir.
And that is where I am going to wind up today's class. In the next class, we will understand more about this, why I am giving you so much time, so that you can understand each and every term that is coming in Prism, because each and every term is one question and you will definitely get one question from this topic. So this is +4 for you. We'll spend more time here and we'll see it in the next class. Have you noted it down, whatever is there on the sheet?
Yes, sir.
So what we have done in this class for prism, we have seen what is a prism. A prism is a transparent medium having two plane surfaces inclined at an angle. The angle between the two surfaces is known as the angle of prism, and the two surfaces are known as refracting surfaces. We have seen what is the incident ray, refracted ray, emergent ray, angle of incidence, angle of refraction, angle of emergence. We have seen what is deviation, deviation for first phase, deviation for second phase, and the entire deviation for the prism. In the next class, we will move ahead. I hope you have loved this class. See you for the next class. Take care and have a nice day. If you have any doubts, please ask them.
Okay, sir. Bye, sir.
Take care.
Bye.